So he goes 7 innings on the night as he picks up the win. 3 earned runs and 5 hits, and the Orioles win it at the managerial debut of Buck Showalter. Verizon Wireless now. Post-game comments. Let's head inside. Here's the new skipper.
What's the time of game?
2:23.
Everybody's happy here, right?
Thank you.
I know you got two.
It's time for a long press conference.
No. That's not as hot as it got in the first one. You know, 2 groups of people complain about length of games. Y'all know. What's up? Umpires is 1.
What did it feel like to be out there again?
Good. Especially with that kind of game. Jeremy was outstanding. You know, pounded his own, good stuff. Everything that I'd heard about him. You know, he set the tone. He was impressive.
How much evaluating are you able to do while the game is going on? I mean, you're probably so focused on just managing the game itself as opposed to saying, this guy can give me X, Y, and Z.
Both. You know, it's what you're exposed to. A lot of times you don't. It's off ball. It's body language. It's things that you see that you can only get in a dugout and can only get in a clubhouse and can only get, you know, talking to people. You know, and it's not near as complicated as some people may think. I think. But it's both. You're trying to, and you're obviously leaning on other people's knowledge to some extent for certain situations.
How happy were you to see some of the things that may kind of go unnoticed in the box score, like Wieters taking the extra base and his effort at home plate, and just some
that was entertaining. It was
PA's defense in left field.
You know, a lot of big guys. You know, he's obviously an athletic guy with a big body, and it was fun to watch the way he took some of the ribbing along the way. If he could just been a little quicker getting back over there. It's a very similar play. I'm not going to go into detail. Deion Sanders, I'll relay that tomorrow. I'm not going to mix up Matt and Deion athletically yet, but Deion had that. That was my first big third base coach call in Yankee Stadium with him and Bo Jackson, and I'm dating myself, but it reminded me a lot of it. I have to look that one up on tape.
How great was it to get a win in your debut and kind of set the tone here?
Hey, it's not imperative, but it's certainly, I'm excited about it, and I hope the players are. You always like to end up on the right side of it, regardless of the situation, but what comes first? It's the old chemistry and culture and whatever you want to throw on it. What comes first? I got news for you. W's come first. It certainly helps a lot of things carry a little more importance.
Buck, did this feel like your ball club tonight?
That's a lockup question. Yes, I think now more so. It's a process. Everything is in life, and whether or not it felt like it was, and it was our ball club. It was the Orioles fans' ball club, and I hold that responsibility very dear. I know there's a lot of people living and dying with everything we do out there every night, and some people have a trouble with that responsibility that you have of putting on an Oriole uniform. We've got one of the highest percentage viewerships in all of baseball, and in fact, I made that point to a few people out along the way. They're there. It's up to us to put something they want to be a part of.
Buck, the bullpen. Can we read anything into how you handled it tonight? Because it seems like every other manager we've had in Baltimore would have automatically gone to the closer in the top of the ninth inning.
Well, the matchup was a lot better. Gonzo, I've been watching him throw the ball and talking to Cranny and some of the guys. I like the switch hitters turned around, all of them. And, the tough call was Hunter. That's a tie ball game at the worst, though, and we liked our chances at home with the last at bat. So take our chances. And, believe me, I know the save rule, and I, quite frankly, don't really – it doesn't carry much weight with me. I like the win rule a little bit better.
You talk a little bit about the fan reaction. It seems like you guys standing out every time you came out of the dugout.
I didn't come out much, thank goodness. That's a real good sign. I know Jerry wasn't probably too happy to me. I wasn't sure. I thought Izzy was hurt there for a second. The ball actually hit him, and when Alfredo was coming in, they were all kidding him a little bit. So, man, you made Buck come out of the dugout, and what did you want him to argue there? That you broke your hand? But no, it's humbling. But I also know both sides of that, and we got to continue to. I think everybody's, including me, are thirsting for good things to happen, and for it's one day, one game, but it was fun.
Buck, you talked about Jeremy Guthrie kind of going out and set the tone. I mean, what was it like in the dugout? Were the guys excited? Did you kind of get the sense that they were, up for the game a little bit?
Yeah, that's a question for them. You're so tunnel vision in what you're trying to do and get back on the bicycle, so to speak. And I'm certainly aware of the atmosphere and the, I don't know what you want to call it, karma or whatever around there. But there's such an ebb and flow to a baseball game. It's never as it is from the first inning to the ninth inning. There's an ebb and flow, and because you're facing real good people who are trying to do the same thing you're trying to do, and they're trying to beat your brains out.
Well, there hasn't been much energy at the yard this year, given the circumstances. Obviously, you weren't here for all of it, but talk about the energy in the ballpark and kind of the fact that, at least from our standpoint, I can tell it was a much different place tonight than it's been at least in months past.
I've been here when it was, a great passion and energy, and that's something that's been a constant with, Oriole fans when I've been here. I haven't been here when it wasn't. Okay, so, you guys, I'd lean on you some of that. I'd rather not see the other side of it if we can help it.
Mark, you guy, we're not familiar with you day to day. I noticed you started the game at the far end of the dugout, and are you a guy that doesn't interact early in the game at all with the players in the dugout?
It depends. I did a lot. You may not have seen it, just up the runway, around. They got a lot going on. I'm trying to stay out of their way and let them do what they do. And I got a lot of respect for what they try to do every night, but, there's a lot of different ways to communicate. And, last thing I want the focus to be on them and the players and what they're doing. And, no, it wasn't intentional. It just was comfortable to move around, look at from different angles and get comfortable in my surroundings. But I've never been a real stagnant guy, but, it's like making a lot of new friends real quick and don't want to come on too strong, but at the same time, give them some breathing room too. I'm not going to be up them right from the get-go. I know the end game here. I understand the end game.
Thanks. You guys want to wait for
Warm enough?